Hello students and parents. Thank you very much for joining us at Temasek Polytechnic's Open House webinar. You will be hearing about the options and opportunities available at TP and learn more about the admissions exercise that is coming up. I hope you will find the session useful. This coming week is an important one for you students as you decide on what to do next after your O-levels or after ITE. There are many good options available, whether you choose to go to a junior college or pick one of the courses that are offered by the 5 polytechnics. My advice to you is to choose a course of study that will best suit your interest, aptitude, and style of learning. If you decide to come to TP, please be assured that you will be in good hands for the next 3 years. We are committed to do our best to prepare our students for a world where industries are always evolving and where technology is constantly disrupting the way we live, study, and work. Beyond industry-specific knowledge and skills, TP also equips our students with skills that will make them strong leaders, innovative thinkers, and agile lifelong learners. We also develop our students to become responsible global citizens who can make meaningful contributions wherever they may go. So as educators, we are committed to nurturing your talents and abilities and empower you with the right skills so that you can achieve your dreams and create your own tomorrows, whatever that vision or aspiration may be. So I encourage you to explore our courses, our curricula, and our campus lifestyle. Today's webinar will give you a good opportunity for that. You can also continue to explore our open house website after this and listen to the sharing sessions by our lecturers, students, and even alumni, so that you can get a very good idea of what the TP experience could also mean for you. From 13th of January onwards, we will also be providing more one-on-one online consultations as well as course preview talks. Please go to our website at tp.edu.sg for more information and updates. And I wish you all the best for your O-level results, and I certainly hope to see you in Temasek Polytechnic. Please enjoy the rest of the webinar.
And thank you for joining us today. Good morning. My name is Pat, and I'm from the School of Design at Temasek Polytechnic. I'll be your host for today's webinar, and I'll be leading you in the presentations as well. I have with us today, in fact, a panel of leaders in the design school, starting with our director from the School of Design, Ms. Elaine Ho, and our 2 deputy directors, Ms. Vani Rajendran and Ms. Rachna Johri. And they will be joining us here so that if you have any questions along the way, you rest assured they will be answered. I also have with us today a very special guest. His name is Christian Teo. He is an alumnus, in fact, from the School of Design. And today he's in a very interesting position in pharmaceuticals. So you may be wondering, what would a designer be doing in the world of pharmaceuticals? Well, you'll hear from Christian soon. And without much further ado, we have a very tight schedule today, lots of information to deliver to you. I'm going to hand over the screen time over to our director from the School of Design, Ms. Elaine Ho. Elaine, please, over to you.
Good morning. Thank you, Pat. And just a warm welcome to all parents and students that are joining us today in this webinar. Seeing the numbers that we have today, we are very heartened by the keen interest in our programs at Temasek Polytechnic School of Design. Thanks to technology, we are able to bring this session to you in the comfort of your homes and not be bound by restrictions to audience capacity. My name is Elaine Ho, and I am the director of the School of Design. I am joined today by my colleagues Pat, Vani, and Rachna, who are key members of my team taking care of outreach, academic and industry matters, and therefore most qualified to be helping with your questions. We also have with us alumnus Christian Teo from what used to be called the Visual Communication Diploma, class of 2010, who has very kindly agreed to come on and share with us about his journey post-design school, and particularly in the non-design sector. Today, Christian is head of Innovation Lab at Novartis, and that is all I'll say at this point in time, because his story is best told by him. Okay, so participants and especially parents, that you have set aside precious time on a Saturday morning to join us tells me that you are curious and interested in what the school and perhaps the field of design has to offer. Thank you for your many questions that were submitted pre-event. We will do our best in this next 1.5 hours to address them as we share with you about our programs, our brand of education, how we distinguish ourselves, as well as what prospects there are for our graduates. Now, before Pat comes on to take us through her two-part presentation with an overview of Temasek Poly and then the School of Design, I thought I could start off with a broad overview about design in the Singapore and current day context. Now, at the national level, the government has acknowledged that design is an essential skill for a future-ready workforce. Hence, the goal is to develop a workforce that is well-versed in design, even if they work in non-design sectors. MTI has appointed a committee to look into reshaping public perception of design and also to expand the type of jobs that design graduates can go into. So design is a strategic competency, one that is rooted deeply in the iterative process of designing, prototyping, and learning, which provides the tools and methods that help us to innovate, to create the experience that people actually want. The outcomes of this are usually a more human-centric approach, which are increasingly visible around us today. We have products that are effortless to use, services that improve our lives, and immersive environments that heighten our sense of what is possible in our lives. And all this is a reflection of how design has become increasingly pivotal in people's daily experiences. So therefore, it's no coincidence that we see banks and even the healthcare sectors that have in-house design teams to look into how to better meet the needs of customers as well as patients. All right, so you see that in an increasingly competitive market, firms are realizing that design will help them offer better products and services. A study of future hiring intentions has found that for every one designer hired in a creative industry, 2 will be sought after in a non-design environment. So what we're doing really is educating designers for the modern economy. And the education of designers covers aspects that are crucial, right, to the modern economy, that focuses on understanding users' ability to work in multidisciplinary teams and to find solutions to problems, all right? So what we aim to produce as an end product is students who are imbued with a potent combination of problem-solving skills, creative thinking, and empathy, traits that have caught the attention of the non-design world, and how these capabilities are going to be applied to the non-creative industry. So design is going to open a lot of doors and pathways, and these are what we call the prospects for design, right? Through our grads like Christian, we see that so many of them are still doing design, though not necessarily confined to the design sector. So I hope this sets the context for what you're going to be introduced to. At this juncture, I'm going to hand over the time back to Pat, who's going to take you through what Temasek Poly as well as what the School of Design has to offer. Pat, please.
Thank you, Elaine. Thank you so much for setting the today's presentation in context. So ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to take you through first a very quick overview of what Temasek Poly has to offer. Please let me know if you are able to see my screen. Are you able to see my screen? Yes? Okay. So first of all, a very quick overview of what we have to offer in Temasek Polytechnic. Aside from being, of course, the only polytechnic in the east of Singapore, we are located right by the shores of the Bedok Reservoir, so a really scenic place, and again, very well known then for all our water sports and so on. We have 6 academic schools within Temasek Polytechnic, offering about 36 diploma courses. So schools ranging all the way from business to humanities to design, engineering, and so on. There's going to be, something for everyone's interest. We also offer 3 common entry programs, and I will share a little bit more about that as I go along. So the TP student profile that we aim to produce by the time they graduate, we are looking to produce graduates who are future-oriented creators, people who are a bit forward-thinking, futurist in their mindset. Value-centered leadership is important to us as well, and of course, lifelong learners. We realize at Temasek Polytechnic that the learning never stops, and I'm sure in today's context, we all can appreciate that as well, that we live in a world that's constantly changing, and We want to imbue in our students a sense of curiosity and resilience in order to keep learning and keep improving their skills. So this is the student profile that we are preparing our students for. The education philosophy at TP has got three strong cornerstones here. One, in terms of applied learning, bearing in mind that as a polytechnic, our role is to prepare students for the world of work. And by that, then it's not just theoretical knowledge that they will be learning, but very hands-on technical application of skill sets as well. So there'll be lots of projects, there'll be lots of industry projects in particular, which brings me to the second pillar of industry partnerships. As a polytechnic, we work with industry very closely across many fields. And this is important because as the students work on industry projects, they practically learn on the job, and they get a very realistic sense of what is happening in the world out there. Technology-enabled learning is also key. So we aim to create students in the end, or graduates who are very digitally savvy, are very in touch with all the different tech opportunities that are available out there. And so in terms of the equipment that we have on campus, the facilities that we have, that all comes together in terms of tech. So the facilities that we have, again, are of industry grade standard. Again, the reason is to prepare students for the world of work. So whether you are keen on taking a culinary course, there's an industry kitchen, industry restaurant grade kitchen for you, or if you're in the School of Design, we have a very collaborative studio-based environment where our students can work in, and that really mimics that kind of cross-disciplinary learning and interactions that's taking place in the real-world design studios of today. So I spoke a little bit about the three key cornerstones of Temasek Poly's education philosophy, and this is underpinned by two additional pillars of global exposure as well, and a culture of caring. Again, this is so important to us, and in fact, we think that the culture of caring is a very key hallmark of TP's ethos as well. So our diploma academic structure looks something like this. Of course, it will vary from school to school and course to course, but generally as a whole, every single TP student, regardless of the course they are in or the school they are in, will have to take TP fundamentals, and the list of subjects are there on the right, as you can see. Internship program, of course, is the key cornerstone of every single polytechnic diploma in TP. And beyond the TP fundamentals, of course, each school will have its own diploma core subjects, and there will be a series of diploma electives that will also give students the breadth of learning that they can have within TP. Again, I spoke about the common entry programs being an option as an alternative for entering Temasek Polytechnic. These are three of the common entry programs that we offer from the School of Business, Engineering, Informatics, and IT. So the common entry program allows you to come into either one of these three schools and to be given extra time, or more time in fact, to decide on your choice of diploma. So you don't make the choice immediately when you apply for a place in TP. You come in through the common entry program, and within a semester or two, you will be learning about the different aspects of the industry that you are in. And that allows you a greater exposure, because now that you're actually in the school, you'll be able to interact with the lecturers, students, and seniors across the different courses before you actually decide which is that specialism that you want to go into, which specific course you want to apply for, right? So aside from the common entry program, there is the direct year one entry, of course. In this particular case, if you're applying, these are really for those who know exactly what kind of courses that they are keen on and they are interested in. They apply specifically for that particular program. All right, so two ways where you can enter TP as a whole. So let me touch on a series of admissions exercises that's going to happen over the next few weeks and months for those who are coming into Temasek Polytechnic. So first off, there's the joint admissions exercise. And as you can see, this is going to take place quite soon, from the 12th to the 17th of January. There's going to be one application, and each student is given up to 12 choices to make. And this means that how you place your choices is going to be very critical, right? At the end of the day, after placing all your 12 choices, of course, there's only going to be one offer given, depending on where your LAS places you in terms of your choices. And for those of you who are maybe not very sure on how you are going to make those choices, please attend this webinar that TP is organizing on Thursday, 13th January, on the strategies in terms of how you place your JAE choices. And I believe this will be of great interest to all of you who are trying to come in through JAE. The Polytechnic Foundation Program is yet another route into TP, and it is only for eligible normal academic level holders. So they can apply for any of the 36 diploma courses, as well as the 3 common entry programs, right? Now, as a Polytechnic Foundation student, that year that you are in is what we call the foundation year. And you will go through your domain cluster subjects, depending on the school that you are in. And there will also be a series of core PFP subjects, as you can see from the 5 listed over here. As a general rule, only those who are invited by MOE, those who meet the entry requirements of 12 points and below at N level, will be invited to participate in the admissions exercise. And it runs on the same timing as the joint admissions exercise. And this is from the 12th to the 17th of January. Only 1 application per student, but in that application, you can pick up to 5 choices, and then you will be placed accordingly. And you will only receive 1 offer at the end of the day. There's also a different option for our students coming in from ITE, NITEC, as well as higher NITEC. And this is a joint poly admissions exercise. This will run a couple of weeks later, from the 21st to the 25th of February. And ITE students will then be invited to apply and place up to up to 8 choices across all the different institutions on when they want to come in. All right. So with that, I've come to the end of the presentation on TP. I do invite you to move into the TP website if you can, if you need more information on the various admission schemes. Alternatively, an open house is still on, and I believe that in consultation, the e-consultations sessions are also still happening. So we do invite you to please, drop in to ask any further questions on all the different admissions exercises or schemes if you need to. So allow me then to share my screen again. I'm going to move into the TP, the School of Design presentation. Are you able to see my screen? Vani, Rachna, Elaine?
Yes, Pat.
Okay. Okay, thank you, everyone. And here we are. We're talking about creating tomorrow. This is TP's new tagline, and we believe that in the School of Design, tomorrow's designers actually, would start here, and it's a great place and a great way to start. And let me begin the presentation with this quote. Right, this is from Han Lim, as you can see here. For those who are not in the know, Han is a dear friend of ours in the School of Design. He's an alumnus. He came from the Visual Communication course a couple of years ago. And he is, in fact, the Designer of the Year from the President's Design Awards. And he runs a very successful digital firm called Kinetic. And this is what he says, I never have to work a day in my life because I love what I do. And love and passion are 2 qualities that we think are going to be key for anyone who's trying to pursue design studies. All right, design is something that you must have a lot of heart for and a lot of stamina for. And we hope that anyone who comes in should have that right kind of mindset and that right kind of love for what they're going to learn. So a bit of history at the moment. We start off with this. TP started or rather the School of Design has its roots in 1969 as the Baharudin Vocational Institute, which was started by the government so many years ago. And when TP then started in 1990, it took over the Baharudin Vocational Institute. So then when you're looking at history and you're looking at the most established in terms of design studies as a whole across Singapore, it is really TP School of Design. And over that past 30, 40, 50 years, we have been producing leaders in the design industry. And so employers in that industry really know the brand name of TP Design as well. So they're very aware of the quality that we have in terms of what we produce, in terms of our graduates as well. As you can see here, we are not a very big school. We are quite small, about 1,100 over students, plus minus. The key thing to note here is we are 100% project-based. All right. So there are no written exams in the School of Design? And I hope, this is a question that's been asked in the pre-event question, so I hope this answers it. There are no exams, no written exams. Everything is based on project work and coursework. And this then requires our students to be a lot more independent, a lot more responsible and self-motivated for their own learning and their own milestones in terms of their project management. So if you are in touch with your lecturers, if you're attending consultations regularly, you're taking on the feedback, producing consistent work, you should have no problem with a project-based kind of a culture. So we are pure design. And by that, what do I mean? We are the most comprehensive design school. So across the board, across all the polytechnics out there, you will know that there are some polytechnics with design schools, but they will not have the fullest range of design courses. There are also some polytechnics with design schools, but when you look at all the offerings that are there, perhaps only one course is really design specific, or two courses are design specific, and the rest are really not. There are also others with design courses which are packed in different schools. TP Design then is the only school purely dedicated to design studies. And this means all the students from all the different disciplines come together in this one space, and it mimics, the real world out there, where designers are expected to check in, check across, ideate, be inspired by their peers in different areas. A great deal of collaboration is expected today in the world of design. And in the TPA School of Design, the roots of this sort of collaboration starts right here. Okay, so we are the first design school, as I said earlier, also dedicated to design studies, and we have a strong interdisciplinary studio environment that others would find hard to replicate. The curriculum in the School of Design is underpinned by these 5 areas. First of all, as I spoke about earlier, TP Fundamentals is core for everyone. We also have a new common foundation for the School of Design that comprises a series of core skill sets and information that we believe is integral and important for every single design student to have, right? Industry projects is key as they work on live briefs with real clients across a wide range of industry. There's nothing, that makes it more real than when you have to work with an actual brief from a real client. And when it gets commercialized, the thrill is immense, right? Internship, as I said, is another key cornerstone for our students to gain industry experience. And finally, the close studio collaboration opportunities that are offered within the school as well. So very briefly about Common Foundation, which is new. Every single design student has to take these subjects, and it happens in the first semester of their time in the School of Design in year 1. So the minute they come in, they will start taking these 6 different subjects, and it really gives them that core set of skills, whether it's in terms of photo, video, understanding design trends, or the design process, and so on. Let me go into each course very quickly. Of course, there's a great deal more information that's available on the School of Design website. So starting with apparel design and merchandising, what makes this course really unique is that they look at the entire spectrum of the fashion business from creation and concept development, product development, all the way down to the front end of merchandising, styling, retailing, branding, and so on. In the second year, the students are able to choose between retail merchandising and fashion design. And we have put in place elective subjects where they can pick that will again give them that added sheen, to their whole learning, different perspective, which they can then apply. Communication design really is everywhere, all around us, right? It's in the social media feeds, it's in the integrated campaigns that we see today, that's all around us. And the comm design course is what I call a rather T-shaped course where they give a broad fundamental first year in terms of graphic design skills. So by the time they finish first year, every single comm design student would have the necessary skills in graphic design. And when they hit the second year, they are then allowed to pick from a series of electives that, as you can see in year 2, that will range from foundation psychology right down to design for business, space planning, and even game design, right? So that again gives them that broad edge. No doubt the core training is in graphic design, but that broader edge in terms of all these different electives will again put them in great demand in adjacent industries in design. Year 3, of course, the fun continues, right? They are again allowed to pick from one of these electives, the experimental printmaking lab, creative coding, and so on. So it's a very vibrant environment that we think students will have a lot of fun in, although it is also going to be highly rigorous. The digital film and television course is a mix of storytelling, script writing, technical core video skills, and also the business end of the media business. And this is what sets us apart from many other film courses out there, because the students are given a great deal of exposure to the business of media. By this, I mean they learn from year 1 straight off to pitch for business ideas, for investment and for funds. So all their story ideas, they pitch their story ideas, and if investors like what they hear, they will pick the projects to fund. And across a year, from year 1 to year 3, generally we see up to about $50,000 worth of funding, usually given for students to pursue the different film projects, all right? The Interior Architecture and Design course is a very unique course. So it is the only course of its kind that combines both interior design and architecture as well. There's a great deal of interaction with industry here too. And the students are also part of this course that allows them accreditation, in fact, from the Singapore Board of Architects. And is only one of 2 courses out there that have this kind of recognition and accreditation. By that, then, when they move on to architecture studies in the local universities, they are given exemption for the first year off. And just like the other courses, the IAD students will also be invited to pick electives, again, which give them that broader perspective into different areas. So then they become a lot more versatile, and they can move into different areas aside from the core training in interior design or in architecture. Product and industrial design is in fact key today. In fact, the students are highly sought after, not just in the creative industry. We always look at product design as, purely, let's say, object making or furniture design. But these days, the demand for product and industrial designers have moved beyond just object design. They are now highly sought after in terms of services, such as those provided in banking, healthcare, or hospitality. And the core reason for this is they are highly trained to understand the design process of human interaction. So with that, then, the aim is to create better services and better products and better experiences. Similarly, as with their other classmates across the different courses, they are also invited to pick from electives, again, that will not just focus on their core training in product and industrial design, but on a subset as well. Within the School of Design, we have the Beyond Design Center, which then creates opportunities for our students to move in interdisciplinary groups to work on different projects that benefit the community at large. So it could be design for good or sustainable design, which again is a key buzzword, given the world that we live in today. We all know the impact of climate change and waste generation and so on. And so the solutions that are generated here by the students tend to veer towards the issue of sustainability and inclusivity as well. So School of Design, a lot of people ask us what kind of a place it is. It's a very unique space within the Polytechnic. And as a culture, I think you learn that we have a very wide range of students, sheer diversity in terms of life experiences, education backgrounds, and so on, talents. And that is one of the key things that make life in design school so exciting. In fact, if you talk to any of our students here within design school, they'll tell you that, that they see classmates from all over, and everybody has very unique ideas, interesting input to share. And so life becomes very rich and very exciting. So there are no dull days within design school. The way that we teach is very different from your chalk and talk that students are so used to in secondary school. Again, as I said, a lot of it is very self-directed in terms of research, in terms of consultations and so on. But we do, look for opportunities to bring our students out to, say, design firms, design studios, where they see and hear firsthand what life is like in the creative industry. We also then have competitions, events, activities that move beyond design, again, with the aim of creating a more vibrant culture for them to work in as well. Usually at the end of 3 years of hard work comes the very well-deserved graduation show. TP Design, being the largest design school as a whole, has in fact about 300 to 400 students work usually on display every year. This is final year work that we're talking about. Of course, the images that you see here are pre-COVID in 2019, and over 2020 and 2021, we've gone online in order to mitigate the safe distancing measures. However, this year in 2022, please look out and do visit us at the physical show. The physical exhibition is back, and it's going to happen sometime in late March. And I believe the students are really interested to show their work to industry as well as to their parents and their friends. Earlier, we showed a slide that talked about the number of awards won. Honestly, over the years, 1,500 is a conservative estimate. These, as you can see, is a very short list of the key awards that have been won over the last, say, 2 to 3 years as a whole. We are very proud of all our students who have worked extremely hard to be out there and be counted against their competitors nationally as well as internationally. But what we are proudest about is this. This is the Crowbar Awards Institution of the Year. Now, Crowbar Awards is a national level competition that happens every year. It covers a very wide range of design disciplines, from film to branding, graphic design, to object, to even to space planning, right? And it's so diverse in terms of its scope, and every single local polytechnic, university, and sometimes even foreign universities do participate in the Crowbar Awards. And for us then at the School of Design, we are so thrilled and so honored to have won the Institution of the Year 5 years in a row, 5 consecutive years. And here you see the medal tally for this year, right? Or rather for 2021, so recently won. We've won 3 best of categories and 22 golds. Again, much call out or shout out really to our students who have worked so hard to achieve this. We work a great deal with our industry partners, and this is just a very short list, in fact, of the partners that we have worked with over the last 4 years. In fact, at last count, I believe we have more than 100 plus partners from industry, ranging all the way from government ministries in the public sector to commercial firms such as Singapore Airlines, Tribal DDB, and so on, right? And they provide lots of opportunities for our students to work on real briefs. So Takashimaya, for instance, in 2019, the students from Com Design took on the Takashimaya brief to design Christmas wrappers. And Takashimaya was so happy with the outcome that they produced it. And it was such a thrill for our students to see that the designs that they created were being carried around by shoppers from Takashimaya that year, right? So again, there's really no way to make it more real than working on projects that are actually being used and applied commercially. Within TP itself, or within the School of Design itself, we continue to partner industry in other ways, such as the setup of certain key facilities, learning facilities within TP, one of which is Equator, which we partnered DDB, Tribal DDB, one of the world's largest digital agencies, to set up. And Equator is that space where our students work with the team from DDB on actual clients from DDB, such as McDonald's, Shiseido, and so on. Bernina is new to us. They are a Swiss technology firm with more than 100 years of history, and their state-of-the-art sewing machines are now part of this creative studio where it's open, to all kinds of design students, not just the apparel design students, to come in and use, right? And so far, with the help of the team from Bernina, we've set up 2 key exhibitions on sustainability in the public sphere as well. So over 30 odd years, we have produced our share of leaders in the industry. And as you can see here, some very familiar names, top names in the creative space as well. But beyond this, and I think I now want to touch on what Elaine has spoken about earlier, about that growing demand, in fact, for designers, not just to be within the design industry or the creative industry, but more, going into the non-design space as well. And if you look at this series of bites here, or factoids over here, these are statistics which are drawn from the National Design Industry and Manpower Study, which was commissioned by the Design Singapore Council. And you can see that there is a huge demand in 2025, as many as 85,000 design roles are going to be expected. This is huge growth, right? And the demand for designers will only increase. So far, as you can see, in 2019 alone, 2/3 of designers are hired by the non-design sector. And as Elaine said earlier, out of every one designer hired in the creative industry, 2 are actually hired by the non-design sectors as well. And if you look at the designer's profile as a whole, not only are they entering at entry level or working in the process of businesses, they are also seated at the C-suite and at the decision-making table. About 32% of senior management in non-design firms are actually designers, all right? So the potential for designers and the demand for designers is key. A lot of this is because designers understand that design process, and design is increasingly recognized not just as a nice to have, but a must have in terms of business development and product development. So with that, then we are already seeing this happening. Even before this study was conducted that I shared earlier. If you just take a snapshot, of some of our design graduates, where are they today? And you can see a wide variety some have gone into entrepreneurship. They've become their own bosses. Some have moved, in fact, into very diverse areas. And I'm highlighting here in this slide, designers who are now working in that non-design space, designers who are in demand in these different areas. So everything ranging from financial management or management consulting, right down to retail, to banking, DBS Bank, for instance, right? Or even SingHealth, as an option, right? Healthcare. Even the public sector, SCDF, Singapore Civil Defence Force, has hired designers, So I think it's quite clear, right? Parents, who may be concerned that there are limitations in potential. I think we are really poised at the brink of a very exciting expansion in design. In terms of further education, you can see that there are all these key institutions here. Our graduates have found places in all the 4 local autonomous universities, NUS, NTU, SUTD, and so on. And those who have chosen to go overseas have also found places in some of the world's top design schools, right? Such as Yale University, Yale School of Art, Royal College of Art, and so on. So a lot depends, of course, on the portfolio of work for acceptance. But generally, if it's listed here, our students have found places in here without any problems. So many other ways to get into design school as a whole. And now I really want to touch on actually EAE as a whole. But before that, let me just explain a little bit about this. For a lot of people, they may wonder, if I go into a polytechnic, do I then spend longer time in the university to get my degree? The answer is no. In fact, many of the universities in Singapore offer a 1-year exemption. So you will complete 3 years instead of 4 of the university degree program. For others, of course, if you choose to go overseas, sometimes it can be a lot faster because overseas universities may give you more generous exemptions in terms depending on the subjects that you have taken. Of course, there are examples of students who have moved from the diploma program in design school straight into a master's degree program, right? And of course, right now, we are also looking at specialist diplomas. Immediately after graduation, we do encourage our students, if they want to spend an additional year with us to obtain a specialist diploma in areas which are adjacent to their learning. And again, this gives them better opportunities out there in terms of employment when they have more rounded set of skills. So let me talk a little bit about EAE. This is a key admissions exercise that's going to happen in June this year. And again, this is really for the benefit of students listening in who are still now in Sec 4 or Sec 3 and are considering the early admissions exercise. So typically it happens in June. MOE runs the exercise and you'll be invited to apply somewhere towards the end of June or so. There are a couple of attributes that we look for when we take students in through the early admissions exercise. And a lot of this center around the right sort of attitude, the right sort of passion for that particular course or for that particular field of study, right? And the interview process during the early admissions exercise will help both the applicant and us within the School of Design ascertain if we are the right fit for each other, all right? Alongside the interview, there's also going to be an aptitude test that we institute so that the students can try and for us to also ascertain whether we are a good fit or not. And on top of that, we do ask to see a portfolio of work. Again, many questions center about portfolio. What goes into a good portfolio? I would say the breadth of work is important, and for you to then include work that you have done beyond your schoolwork, not just your coursework in art or D&T, but wider than that. If you take photography, you love taking pictures, you love doing video, for example, please put that as part of your portfolio as well. If you have sketchbooks and journals or notes that you have, study notes that you have annotated beautifully, that can be part of a great portfolio as well. If you have a strong Instagram feed, on let's say animals that you see or the world around you, that can be also part of your portfolio. So we're generally very open, but we would like to see a good range of work as well. So I want to I'm close to ending, but I just want to emphasize that art is not a prerequisite. So again, we have a lot of students who have this notion that if I don't have art background or I cannot draw, that means I cannot do design. This is not true, all right? I want to say that again, it's really not true. We have many students with us in design school with a science background, with no art, no design and technology background, and they do very well, all right? So we will equip you with the core skills to do design work. And again, art and design are not the same thing. It's completely different, all right? Art is expression. Design is about problem solving and innovating. So it's really quite different. So again, rest assured, it's not a prerequisite. Please come in if you have strong interest in design. One final, slide or so. Again, design is widely adopted today. It is an arduous process, and we make no bones about it. It is rigorous. There will be very long hours. There will be a lot of hard work. There will be times where you need to juggle multiple projects. All right, you need to be very independent in managing yourself and your time. There'll be many rounds of iterations as you try and make a good project even better. There'll be lots of activities, competitions, visits, study trips. So there'll be a lot of fun. You will meet a lot of very interesting people in the world of design. And remember, this school is a branded, unique space. Very, very different from many other design schools, even from the rest of TP as a whole too. And so when you come in, you are part of this space too. It is a space with a global outlook. That's something that we believe a great deal in, and we will try to create lots of opportunities for you to be very global in terms of your outlook as well, not just with industry, but with the larger world too. And this is pretty much my last slide already, all right? So this is Jeff Cheong. He is newly appointed as CEO of DDB Worldwide Singapore. DDB, again, is one of the world's largest digital agencies. And this is what he said, when they asked, how did you get here today? He replied, the school taught me about creating tomorrow. So design school is a space where you really have the potential and the power to create tomorrows for everyone, all of us, to make the world a better place, right? Designers have that privilege, right, to do that. So if this is what excites you, please come in, to the School of Design. And I think you'll have a lot of fun engaging in that process of creating tomorrow. And with that, let me end the presentation now and pass the time over to a very, very special person here with us today. His name is Christian Teo, and he is in fact the head of Biome Innovation Lab at Novartis. And so Christian, I'm going to stop sharing. So over to you, please.
Thanks, Pat. I'm going to do a screen share, so just let me know if you can't see it. Is it up, Pat? Do you see it?
Yes, it's up, Christian.
Oh, okay, great. Great. So I'll just launch into it. So hi parents and students. My name's Christian, and I guess today I'm going to give you a bit of a sense of what life after design school might look like. right? So let me just give a bit of a, I guess, so-called introduction, right? Because I think you're probably wondering who is this person, standing in front of you after you've just had a nice little introduction by the lecturers. So I mean, in short, right, I lead the Digital Innovation Lab at Novartis, right? My history or my career is really in innovation consulting. I don't want to sort of dive too much into that, but like any other creative, the stuff that I love would be art, history, a good cup of tea, a good cup of joe. And basically, in my free time, I dabble in startups and, well, my master's degree as well. So not to do too much about that. So today, what I'll be sharing about is really a picture of what could happen after design school, the realities and possibilities of a career where creativity is at its core, right? And the last thing is really about, in my experience, what have I seen and how have my skill sets sort of come into play in that regard. So happy to take questions afterwards, but this is the general thing that I hope to impart today. So really quickly, where does the story begin for me? And I suspect for a lot of you as well, is right there, sitting in your rooms in front of your parents, or perhaps you're already applying as we speak, right? But for me, it really was about a PowerPoint presentation to my parents, right? Because I mean, I graduated in 2010, right? So this was when JC was a huge preferred option. So I think for many of you, this will be a critical juncture to start the idea of pitching, right? Because that is what creatives will do throughout your lives, right? Pitch the idea. Now, a bit about what I did in design school, but not too much, because I suspect that the school has already or will do this, right? You're probably going to explore your creativity in a way that you don't get to do outside of school, right? I think design school gives you that chance to basically explore, conceptually as well as technically, where do you want to go in print, in media, in digital, or photography. And this is important because as a creative, you'll find that it's not about any one skill set, especially in the 21st century. It's really about how do you use that mind behind it to generate collateral. But this is just to give you a sense of that. I wanted to quickly show you something about my grad show, right? Because you heard that Pat talked about this momentous event where students basically get to pitch their work and it's a portfolio show. Well, in my year, they actually decided not to try it, right? Because they were experimenting with a hybrid model. So not everyone got a booth, right? So that kid you see, the second from the left is me. And I was canvassing around the auditorium with a name card holder trying to get attention. Right now, why am I showing you this, right? Why show this funny looking kid there? I think I wanted to start by saying that you're going to have to do this throughout your career as a creative, right? You're going to have to pitch yourself and you're going to have to create a brand for yourself that works, right? But this is something interesting that happened right after design school. So before my national service, right, as the boys would know, basically I did some design work as well, right? So you can do print, you can do advertising. There's always a need for creatives to help brand initiatives. So, I did stuff for the Army, I did stuff for Noise Singapore. Really, there's a lot of stuff you can do. I even helped the startup to get their promotions up. So it's really an amazing space in and beyond school, right? But I think the question on most of the parents' minds is probably what happens after that, right? So some of you in the audience might be familiar with a green dot, right? So it's basically I'll just show you. So it's basically the logo for Deloitte, right? Which is where I started my career sort of beyond design. And how it came about was I was actually asked to come to the professional services firm and do branding for employer branding, right? And they're saying, Chris, we need a creative to come in and do creative concepts for a professional services firm. And I was like, why would a professional services firm need creativity, right? And to my surprise, I think it's pretty interesting that I spent a couple of months putting that to use, right? And I think more importantly is that it expanded my thinking into, what is beyond the design brief, right? Beyond the marketing department, what do people use design for? And then I did my bachelor's, right? So I hopped over to University of Melbourne to do a sociology degree. And personally, I always get questions of, why do you do sociology, right? And frankly speaking, a lecturer told me this once, right? Designers learn how to create things that people use, whereas sociology teaches you how to understand how the world works, how people think, how communities sort of form together, right? So I thought it was a fitting narrative, but I'm not gonna dwell too much on this. All I'll say is that it was, amazing city. So yeah, coming to the, I guess, interesting part, right? How did I start in corporate innovation, and perhaps how this might start for you, right? Sitting in the audience. So I was going for a job interview at Sedeli or the Ogilvy building after my graduation, right? And then lo and behold, my ex-manager pops up and she's like, "Oh, Chris, I heard you're back, right? Chris, you wanna do an innovation job?" And at the time, I was thinking, why would a firm like Deloitte be interested in innovation? I mean, you're talking accountants, management consultants, people who are traditionally understood to be stodgy, shirt tucked in types, right? But to my surprise, right, I took a dip, right, and it turned out to be a pretty interesting 2 years, right, because I was basically asked to brand the innovation team, right, and slowly I started to understand that, beyond the offices of a creative agency, there were people out there thinking about how do we channel that creativity in a replicable process for our people, right? And that was exactly what Deloitte was trying to do and what I was creating Collateral for. And I think crucially, as we went along, we realized that we couldn't just keep promoting the innovation team, right? We needed to promote an innovation mindset itself. So how do you take the mind of a designer, right, and bring it down to earth and make it digestible for anyone, whether you're an accountant, a lawyer, a legal person, it doesn't matter, right? But how do you do that? And I think I had a lot of fun sort of getting involved in that cognitive process, right? And then logically, of course, you go from designing frameworks to actually teaching people, right? So I mean, I think I'll be remiss not to say that, facilitation is a huge toolkit in a designer's skill set, right? So you need to be able to go out and get groups of people integrated and aligned with ideas, because ultimately you're the one who owns the design, right? So I had a lot of fun doing that. I know I'm speeding through, but I've got 10 minutes, so let me know if it's too fast. But basically, after Deloitte, I took a jump to the banking world, right? So this is a small team that was formed in the OCBC around circa 2017, I think. But basically, the task was simple, right? The task was, how do we innovate banking, right? So how do we make payments more accessible to everybody? How do you make payments easy and seamless across borders? How do you make sure that everything that the customer receives on the app is something they actually want to use, right? And they saw that through partnerships. So I'm not going to delve too deeply into this model, but I mean, there's plenty of literature on open innovation out there. But basically what I wanted to share here is that as a creative, your ability to develop ideas, collaborate with different people, and develop a lean testing kit, that is what will help you to move forward in an industry like digital, right? So maybe you can bear that in mind if any of you are aspiring product developers or product managers out there. So some questions that even my interns ask me sometimes is, do you get to go overseas? And the answer is a resounding yes, right? I was at a fintech festival. Some of you in banking may know it, and by chance I met a colleague, and a Japanese colleague of mine invited me to go to Japan and basically do market access and consulting and innovation, right? So you see that slowly design sort of gets you to places that you may not have thought about. I'm not going to go too much into this, and everything you see is mostly in Japanese, but the type of work that you might do in consulting is really around elucidating the value of innovation to different large organizations, right? You might be looking at different startups and looking at different companies in an ecosystem to say, what can we do with this, and what can we do with your company in order to create value, right? So you start to see that your canvas moves beyond a Photoshop or an Illustrator. And your canvas actually moves into ideas, people, business models, companies, entire organizational structures. The higher up you go, the more you have the ability to make that change and sort of broaden your canvas, if you will, right? So just to give you a sense, if some of you are keen in the consulting side, I mean, I heard that there are many digital firms, even within consulting firms like Deloitte Digital. So we've got about a minute to go. So I'll just wrap up really quickly around my current experience, right? So I was in Japan, relocated there, but then COVID came and I love my family. So I said, I'm going to come home and be with my family, right? I think that's what's important for me. So I was offered a job at Novartis, right? Where really, basically this innovation lab called the Biome is there to basically design a process that enables innovation to happen sustainably, right? So a lot of what I mentioned in open innovation, in innovation branding, all of that sort of coalesces into this framework that we use for digital health solutions. I'm not going to go too much into this, but I mean, some people just sort of ask me, what is like digital health solutions, right? They're basically anything like digital and app related that might go out to patients, to doctors, and basically help to improve diagnosis or deepen access to patient population. There's a lot of stuff that's happening out there that I'm happy to chat about separately. So we've got about 10 seconds left, so I might overrun, but I wanted to leave with this, right? So As designers, I think we exercise creativity throughout our careers, right? You're never going to stop or turn off that button, right? Once you pick it up and you get the physical skill sets, you're going to run with it for the rest of your life, assuming you stay in that career. And the second thing there is that, not every job that requires creativity has the name designer, right? And I think this is increasingly so, right? I mean, when I joined the industry 5 years ago, there wasn't like a innovation designer or a corporate innovation designer, right? I mean, a lot of it is really finding the opportunities and building your own skill set to that end. So really the last year are self-explanatory, but I just wanted to end by saying, design is a career that you make your own, right? So all of the students sitting in the crowd today, you've got 20, 30 years odd ahead of you to plan your careers, right? Nobody can tell you how to do it, right? You can only look at what's out there and make your own assumptions. But in the meantime, train yourself to be able to get there. So yeah, I think I'll end here, and thanks parents and students for your time, and happy to chat separately. Back to you, Pat.
Thanks so much, Chris. And I'm always amazed at the journey that he has. He's moved really from design straight off into really unknown lands for a lot of us. So I think it's an interesting journey. Thanks for sharing it, Chris. We are now open for questions. We probably dedicated a lot more time for questions because a lot of you have sent in pre-event questions. And I'm now going to flash the slide on questions. But aside from those, if you have other questions, please do put that in the chat. Please raise your hands and we will try our best to get to you before the end of the event, all right? So please bear with me as I share my screen right now. Okay, I hope all of you can see the screen. Yes?
Yes, we're seeing it.
Okay, so may I now invite the panel, Elaine, Rachna, Chris, as well as Vani, to please, try and answer some of these questions. We'll start with the first one. Is there a good chance of finding, feasible, good paying jobs after graduating from a design course? I think Christian is proof of the pudding. His career is so spectacular, really moving into banking, back into management consulting, and now into pharmaceuticals. It's really amazing, right? So I think yes, and as Christian said rightly, not every job out there has the word designer in it, but it does require a certain level of creativity as well. And design education gives you that broad-based type of thinking skills, the critical thinking skills, the research skills that you need in order to find your fit in a lot of these spaces as well. The second question, how much is the schoolwork and general workload for an average week? I think it really varies from course to course. You will be juggling not just one subject at a time. So there could be maybe 2 subjects or 3 subjects that you will be learning at the same time. Each of these subjects would have their own assignments, mini assignments or mini projects, that you would have to also work with. So a lot of that would require, your own self-discipline in terms of managing your time and your resources. Rachna, would you agree with that?
Yes, absolutely, Pat. Yeah, the schoolwork actually is consistent across the diplomas because we are looking at a graduation CU of 1 to 4. So yes, you will have a mixed bag of subjects. So some subjects are offered at TP level. And then of course we have our design core subjects. Well, design is different. As you know, we do not have exams. It's all project based. So yeah, we'll have to, make sure that you guys manage your workload consistently. I would say if you are managing your time well, you should be able to, do well in design. It is all about your self-discipline and of course a bit of self-directedness that is important.
Yeah. Okay, the third question, I have heard about the actually rigorous curriculum and I wonder how to cope with it. Also have a question on how designs are graded. Is there a rubrics or is the grade solely dependent on the perspective of the lecturers? Well, it's not exactly American Idol here. So there is a rubrics, of course, and I will invite Rachna again to elaborate further on this.
Yes, since all subjects are non-examinable, we do have rubrics for all the subjects. And just to share with you that when we do assessment, it is not about a single lecturer assessing your assignments and projects. We always have critiques, presentations, and we do have more than 2 lecturers coming in to look at your projects. You did mention about the perspective of lecturers. Yes, that's important, but we always do group assessments, and that makes design rigorous as well, because when you're standing in front of the lecturers and even sometimes clients, you need to rationalize, you need to sell your ideas, right? So rest assured, yes, there are rubrics, and then we have a team of lecturers who are assessing your project. So the assessment part is really, really rigorous. So not to worry about that.
Yes, indeed. And I can, testify that it's actually a lot of fun from my perspective to sit in on a class of presentations as the students present their final work and again, to share feedback. And for every single design student out there, getting the feedback from a wide range of sources actually helps you improve in terms of how you see the project and where there are better opportunities to improve the project as well. The fourth question really is about, what are the chances of getting into an international university? I'll say really it depends on the individual student's portfolio. Overseas universities, as you have seen, from the list that I shared earlier, the best design schools have accepted our students, right? So it really boils down to the individual. But, from year one, we always emphasize that from year one, when you are in the school, make that part of your portfolio, make the work part of your portfolio, and build upon that as you move through the 3 years. And by the time you graduate from us in 3 years, you should have quite a sizable and impressive portfolio to share, right? The fifth question is an interesting question. What is design school culture like? And this is where I'm going to invite all three of the management team here to please share their perspectives. Let's begin with Elaine.
Okay, we get this a lot, right? And I think as Pat's presentation showed earlier on, and Pat also said, right, there are no dull days in the design school, right? And I think what we want students to understand that, it's going to be a mix of fun as well as hard work, okay? We need to underscore that. Our curriculum, as Pat said, is project-based. So we don't have exams, but it does mean that students need to balance and manage their time and resources carefully, all right? And we do want to emphasize that as well. I know the next question talks about sleeping at 3 a.m. and all that. And, I guess it really is because the design process is about feedback and iteration. And, when students come in, they are fueled by passion, I would say. We don't advocate sleeping at 3 a.m. all the time, but sometimes by necessity, I understand, yes, maybe students push themselves, to that extent. But generally, I think what we want to underscore is the need for balance. Okay.
Vani, what do you think? You took care of student development for some time, and maybe you would have some, inputs to also share with the parents here.
Yes, it's a very interesting culture. What else can I say? We are a very small school, very tight knit. Of course, it was so much more interesting pre-COVID. There was never a dull moment. Apart from the work, our students are also highly creative individuals. They used to have lunchtime concerts. It was really fun. Of course, COVID has put a dent on some of these, but we can't also just talk about the fun element. It is hard work. We will be upfront about it, but I think it's all about balance. That sleeping very late. I've had many conversations with students over the years, and I tell them, and Christian is here, and he may attest to that as well. You must know there is a line that you draw. Our students sometimes can be such perfectionists, they are never happy with that work that they have produced. So they keep editing, revising, redoing, and then there's no stop, right? So I always tell them, you draw a line. When you have done your best, that is what you would have to submit, and go and get that sleep that you so much deserve. But it's a very fun environment, and we love our kids.
I couldn't agree more. It is a lot of fun. It's competitive, it's tough, but always so rewarding, right? Okay, I'm looking at question 7 here, and it's a very specific question on the electives that the Com Design course is offering in terms of game design, what kind of game design is explored, and for the same year, for year 3, creative coding lab, what kind of programs will be taught. I think these are really specific. May I invite you to please visit the School of Design website under Communication Design. There should be some information in there. If not, then I'm not sure whether Rachna, you may wish to elaborate.
Yeah, so let me just pick these 2 subjects. So we have recently revised our curriculum. So I think this batch is really very fortunate to take on some of these electives. So game design is actually offered by IIT School, and it covers target audience, players' behavior, attitudes. So these will be some fundamentals that you'll go through, as well as some of the video games attributes that would influence implementation. So you would go through different genre of game design and other aspects of it. As for creative coding, the focus is very much on code-based interaction. So you will be learning a bit of JavaScript, HTML5 processing and all. And the whole intention here is to create expressive, interactive visuals and experiences. So yeah, if you join us, then you will be going through these exciting subjects, which is actually a basket of electives. So you will have some choice in terms of selecting your electives.
Thank you, Rachna. We're moving on. Let me see. What are the skills, that are unique, to us, and are they transferable across or most fields? I think we have established that, the critical skills, that we teach in design school really go beyond just the technical core skills that every design discipline has, right? Whether it's sewing just for apparel design or editing, for example, video editing for the DFT course. But broadly, as designers, that they are expected to have a certain amount of critical thinking, reasoning, logic, and of course the design thinking process as a whole is embedded. And as you can see, these skills are then in demand across many fields, not just restricted to the design field alone. Vani, would you agree with this? So I think Vani is muted at the moment. A bit of technical issue, or maybe Rachna, you would you care to comment on this too?
Yes, I think definitely there are transferable skills. Like, we just had a presenter, one of our graduates, and you can see how fast he's moving into different non-design related disciplines. So I would say, yes, design is now weaving into all businesses, and you guys have a bright future if you come and join us, because we are not just looking at the design sector, but also the non-design sectors. So I would say sky is the limit. This is a very good time to join design. And this is from where you can actually move on to so many different domains. So gone are the days when you were just limited to the creative industry. Now you have several opportunities all across.
Indeed. And question 9 talks about, whether it's important or necessary to have prior knowledge, for certain courses such as coding, or even, let's say, certain software knowledge that you need before, in order to help them understand during the lectures and so on. The short answer is no. We will teach you. So even specific software such as your Photoshop or your Illustrator, course-specific software like that will be taught in the progress of the course. So, before you come in, we don't expect you to have prior knowledge of all these different types of skill sets or software as well. Question 10, what makes TP stand out from other polys? How is TP Design School different from other design schools? Well, I like this question. I think it's tough to explain. I think our culture is different. And, in the course of my presentation, I did mention a few key differences. First, we are the largest design school across the polytechnics. We are also the most established. We are a pioneer. And finally, the third key difference for me is the award-winning culture that we have here within TP Design. We are, a 5-time winner of the Institution of the Year award. So I guess that kind of says something in terms of the excellence, in terms of design education that we provide within the School of Design as well. Elaine, would you like to elaborate further on this?
Yeah, maybe I can just jump in here as well to add that, we are a pure design school, as Pat's presentation showed earlier on. We're full-fledged. We call ourselves full-fledged because we offer, design programs from apparel design and merchandising to communication design, digital film and TV, interior architecture and design, and product as well as and industrial design, right? So, and through our Common Foundation program, our students will actually get a chance to interact with, peers from the other design courses. And that really, contributes, right, to the richness of their experience, and in terms of building that collaborative skills as well, giving them a chance also to understand what's happening in the other design diplomas. Right. So I think that to me is actually a key feature as well that is very valuable.
I think to address the first part of that question about what makes TP stand out from other polys, I think in general, by and large, each poly would have their own niche areas, of course, and different courses that they are known for. And certainly for TP, I think the School of Design is an area that is quite different and that contributes to what TP is known for. The fact that we are also right beside a reservoir, and we're in the east, these are all the small differentiating factors that makes us stand out from other polytechnics. But in general, the quality of polytechnic education would be equally good as the rest as well. Question 11, what do we add into the portfolios for EAE to get into the film and television course? And what makes this course different from the ones at other polytechnics? So we get this question quite a fair bit, even in the outreach talks that I conduct. Generally, the film and television course is what I call, gives a very holistic overview of the media industry as a whole. And as I said, the exposure to pitching, to being, exposed to different clients, different stories, and different projects is going to be so key. It's not just about learning the technicalities of filmmaking or creating your own personal art house film, but a lot of it is in response to the brief. How do you then create the right sort of brief or the right sort of film to meet the brief that the clients have put in front of you? So I think that's one of the key differentials. And in terms of the portfolio, honestly, for the film course, anything related to video would be good. If you write scripts, for example, and you want to bring them in, that's also great. If you have done short little snippets of videos on social media or for your family or for your school, please do include that as well. Beyond that, if you have done photography, that can also be included as part of your portfolio for the EAE. Rachna, you may also wish to add on to this.
I just wanted to touch on the second question about what is so different. I would also say that, if you join the school, you would also see that, we engage you with industry a lot. So many of the projects that the students do, they are actually working on a live brief. So same for our digital film and television students, they do a lot of industry projects, and that's where they gain confidence because the clients do come and sit in their crits and they do have some difficult questions for our students. So yeah, that is another aspect that makes us different. It is purely industry led, and especially for DFT diploma. Yeah, there is a lot of industry facing activities in the diploma.
Yep. Question 12, what is the difference between interior architecture and design course compared to architecture and interior design courses? Is it a mix of both? The short answer is yes. That makes us really unique. So not only do you learn about how to create usable interior spaces for a wide variety of users, you also learn about the architectural principles that underpin the creation of space. And I'm sure Rachna can also elaborate further on this.
So I would say that, interior architecture and design is really interdisciplinary in nature. We're looking at interior design, we're looking at architecture. You can't design spaces without knowing the fundamentals of architecture. So that's where the USP of the course lies. So when the students join our diploma, they are going through the fundamentals of architecture as well as interior design. And again, this course is also industry facing. So we do have a lot of clients and the students work closely with them, and that's where they gain confidence. So moving forward after graduation, our students are well placed in the built environment sector, as well as they can also pursue design roles. So that in that way, our graduates are quite versatile, I would say.
Okay, thank you so much, Rachna. Okay, let's move on to the next question here. Are you all able to see my screen? There was a bit of a glitch.
Yes, yes.
Okay,
Mm.
so okay, we are now in the days of COVID, of course, and understandably, there are some days where we do have to work from home and lessons do carry on. So this particular question is about, when do we need to report physically to school? When do we stay at home? And how is the GPA calculated from the projects? And how many subjects is required for us to take? Okay, in terms of the subjects that's required for graduation, those details and information are in the school website, in the specific course websites, in fact. So you'll be able to see how many subjects that you need to actually take. In terms of whether you need to report physically to school and when you stay at home, a lot depends on the COVID situation of the day. And of course, as you all know, that is a very fluid situation that we are in. We take our advisories from the government as a whole, and we will react according to that. Again, of course, that balance is also depending on the timetable and the schedule for you. Course by course, it will vary, student by student, it will also vary. So there isn't a hard and fast answer that we can give at this stage, but rest assured that the mix that we give will be very even, and we will aim to provide, the best learning experience that we can given the COVID situation. In terms of the GPA calculation, perhaps, Vani or Rachna may wish to attempt this question.
Actually, the GPA is calculated all across. It's not just for projects, it's both subject and project. So every semester, based on your performance, so all subjects are graded. Although there are some TP level subjects that is just a pass and fail, but those subjects that are graded would actually, relate to your GPA. So there is, again, on the website, if you go into TP Web, there is information on GPA as well. So I would say all graded subjects will contribute to your GPA, and you need to perform consistently to keep your GPA, at a certain level. If you look at university admissions and all, generally we're looking at a 3.5 and above, but it varies from university to university. But yes, we account for all subjects and projects when we calculate GPAs.
Okay, there's a question on internship opportunities. Is the student expected to research on it, or will there be options? By and large, within the School of Design, we do encourage our students to seek their own internships as well. So the students will be taught, how to create a strong portfolio, a resume, and how do you send that out, to different agencies and so on, different clients and so on. If a student is unable to find their own internships, we do have sources. In fact, we have a list of companies and partners that are in need of interns as well, and we will forward this to the student for consideration as well. Vani, would you also like to elaborate on this?
Yes. Sorry,
in terms of internship.
Bit of a glitch at my end. I'm only seeing you, Pat. Hope you all can see me.
We can see you. Yeah.
Okay, great. For internship, rest assured, we do have a list of companies that we do share with our students, and these are our long-standing partners. We have had them for many years, which we share with the students, and the students will then decide which of these companies they want to approach for the internship. Those students who are perhaps they have a particular company that they want to specifically go and work in, we also encourage that. We call that self-sourcing. But before we let our students go off and do the interviews, we do a check. We want to ensure that our students are placed in all the right companies. So once the check is done and they seem fine, we ask our students to go ahead and do the interviews. A lot of help is provided for our students to do the interviews, to put together their resume, prepare their portfolios, and we will place every single student due for internship in a company. Yeah.
Thank you, Vani. And I'm going to move on to the next slide, probably the last slide of questions. Just bear with me as I try and make my slides move. Okay, it's moved. Okay, that first question out there. Will I learn more than just design? For example, learning about how design businesses work. I think there's a strong component on entrepreneurship as well that we have within the School of Design, in fact, in TP as a whole. So students will be given exposure to that. And in, of course, the many interactions that the students have with industry practitioners, in the studios and in the different firms and agencies, they will be able to get a more than a decent snapshot of how the design businesses actually work. And as you can see, some of the electives also do touch on the design of, let's say, or the impact of design on business and so on. So I think that there is a fair amount of information there too. Question 16, what made you join the design industry and what is it like being in it? Well, I guess that question is best left for Christian to answer, although he's not strictly from the design industry. I know initially he had thoughts of wanting to join the design industry, but that kind of got sidetracked and he's gone on a different path. Chris, would you like to take this question?
Yeah, well, I mean, I did spend some time in the industry. I mean, I started in advertising, right? I think more crucially is I would reframe that question, right? Like, what is it like finding out the realities of the industry and then making a decision for yourself, right? I think the answer will differ from person to person, right? I have peers who stay in advertising for easily 5 to 8 years, right? Some of them hate it, right? Some of them have sort of lost that fire. Some of them still enjoy doing it, right? I think, but probably I speak for most designers when I say that it is fun, right? You're gonna exercise your creativity on a day-to-day basis. You're gonna use that in a way that people actually employ it in their work, in their lives, in their families. So obviously it's rewarding from that perspective, right? But I mean, to give a dose of industry realism, right? I think the salary or the pay should not be your primary driving factor, right? It should be a career that you pursue because you are passionate about the art, right? You're passionate about it. But I mean, what made me join? Yeah, love of creativity, love of art, love of people.
Thanks so much, Chris. And in the interest of time, I noticed that there are a couple of questions left. I'm just going to sum this up very quickly, and then we will move into the Q&A. That's also in the chat. Very quickly, there is no cutoff point for PFP that we know about. How competitive is it generally as a whole? MOE does reserve about 1,500 places for PFP across all the 5 polytechnics, and the competitiveness of it really depends year by year, depending on the students for various particular courses. In terms of the rest, if you don't have sewing skills, can you still join the ADM course? The answer, of course, is yes. Please do join us. We'll teach you how to sew. And question 17, I believe we have answered. We will teach you all these software skills, so you don't need to have prior knowledge before joining us. All right. So with that, I'm going to unshare my screen and let's look at the questions coming in from the Q&A. Hang on. Okay, if you look at the Q&A, there is a question, what to expect for IAD students? Will there be more handwork assignments like creating models, etc.? Rachna, could you answer that question, please?
Sure. So when you come to join us, we do have this foundation semester. So the foundation semester is where we will introduce you to the craft of design. So there will be a lot of hands-on subjects. So the foundation part is really important. We don't want you to straight away jump into the digital realm. So you will definitely go into a lot of hands-on application, whether it's to do with model making or visualizing through experiments, or even going into the workshop to explore different materials. So yes, you will have a lot of hands-on experience, and that's why coming to the campus is important. So come April, we will definitely get all our freshmen to come on campus, and I hope the situation allows for that, but that's our plan, to bring all of them on campus, and that's where you can really go into these hands-on applications.
Okay, thank you, Rachna. We also have a question about part-time work, freelancing. I believe a fair number of our students do work part-time, but again, I will have to say this really depends on the individual, and Novani talked about balance earlier, and in terms of managing the project work at the same time. So if you are able to do this without stressing yourself out or burning out, that's fine. I mean, we're okay with it as a school, but I think each individual student would vary and would need to watch their own plate full to see how they can better manage this, right? There is a question on what will the students need to excel in the digital film and television course, and what are some of the assignments we can look forward to if we get accepted. I guess in terms of excelling, it would be quite similar across all design courses. I think that commitment to creating work, to responding to the brief, keeping in touch with your lecturers through consultations, getting the right sort of feedback and acting on it. That's all going to be consistent throughout. Rachna and Vani, would you like to elaborate further on how or what a DFT student needs in order to excel?
I would say that collaboration is a key when you join DFT, because many of the projects are done in groups, and it's important that we know how to relate with each other. So one of the skills that you will require if you're coming to join this course is really collaboration. You need to be open-minded. You need to have that spirit to work together as a team. So that is one key area. Vani, would you like to add on to this?
I think not just digital film and television, with all the courses that we offer, one key element is being that open-minded, being creative, and willing to explore and working with people, right? I think that is very important. Like Rachna mentioned, a lot of the projects that DFT students do are group projects because of the nature of the work, right? And hence, I think that networking, the connection, not just with your own course mates, actually, we encourage you to work and get to know people from all the other courses, the other schools. These are going to be connections which will be very useful for you, especially, when you start doing casting. You cannot underestimate the power of having connections. So I think that is very important. Yeah.
Okay. In terms of the assignments and so on and the briefs, of course, the briefs will vary according to assignments. But if you want to have a fuller idea of what kind of subjects you will be learning, again, the Design School website together with the Digital Film and Television course website will be able to give you more information. Another question on, can I join apparel design and merchandising with partial color vision deficiency? I'm not sure, Rachna, I think you can answer this one.
So in the past, we had applicants who had partial color vision deficiency. What is normally done is that our academic office will review your application, and most of the time they will ask the course team to come in, and that's where we'll meet you and we'll assess. We will do a simple test to see how serious it is, and then we will decide whether you are okay to come into the course. So not to worry, we will definitely have an opportunity to meet you if you have this deficiency, and then we will evaluate. Yep.
Okay, there is a question on will prior knowledge on drawing and art and so on be somewhat helpful in comm design? I guess the short answer is yes. But you don't need to have this specific knowledge in order to come in. As I said, we will teach you. But of course, if you have this, that would be helpful, of course. The second, there's another question on the intake of students of a course. Will intake change for a course of JAE if there are many students coming in from EAE and PFP? Good question. I guess, Rachna, over to you, please.
You have seen the intake numbers, right, which are on the website. So we will take those intake numbers and we will only take in those many students. The students coming through JEE, of course, they will come through their O-level results. While for EAE students, if they meet the minimum criteria, if you have been interviewed and you meet the minimum criteria, that's when you will come in. So I would not be able to give you the answer to the second part of the question, but definitely the intake numbers will remain the same as what you see on the website.
Okay, we are 1 minute away from ending today's session, really, and so heartened to see so many questions coming in. If we are unable to answer all your questions today, please do email us. Please do come in for the e-consults and join us for the rest of today's open house. And I'm sure somebody will be able to answer your questions as well. So with that, I think we only have time for one final question. And I think maybe let's look at, will there be CCA opportunities in Poly? Yes, plenty. TP alone has more than 70 interest groups and CCAs for you to take part in. So you'll be spoiled for choice. Whether you're allowed to change courses after a year, for EAE, I don't think so. But again, if you are more specific about that particular question, maybe we can float that to the academic or admissions team to look into as well. So again, yes, it brings us straight now to 11:30. I want to thank all our panelists for being here with us today, and to thank all of you as well for being with us this morning. Stay safe, everyone, and I hope to see you within the School of Design soon. All the best.
All the best, everybody.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for joining
All
us
the
today.
best.
Thank you.
Thank you also, Christian, for coming on board with us.
Thanks,
Pleasure.
Chris.
Thanks, Chris.